Let your silence be the boundary that others experience. There's no need to rationalize your boundary, justify your boundary, or explain your boundary. The clarity that you create the boundary from is the same clarity that cuts these people out of your life with discernment. When you have that clarity to discern, you can easily create boundaries. And if those boundaries then stop people from accessing you, then so be it. In a way, you've cut people from your life, not because you are cold, but because you are clear. And it's that clarity that you value. It's that clarity that you don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to explain yourself. All of that is actually a leak. Boundaries are twofold. On one side of the boundary, you have what we can call protection. What it protects, perhaps it protects you, it protects your space, protects your energy, whatever you want to call it. On the other side is a containment. What it contains. And it's containing that which is essential, that which you become clearer about. You now contain it and protect it. And you see, what you're containing is actually your power. When you have to justify yourself, explain yourself, rationalize yourself, then you see that actually weakens the boundary. It's actually a leak. Instead of that boundary actually standing strong, there's a weakness to that boundary. And there's an energetic leak. So you start spilling your energy, feeding those who want a reason. But why? Wanting you to explain yourself. I don't get it. Can you help me understand? They want the reasoning. This doesn't make sense. And they want some sort of reason from you. When you have that clarity, simply close that energetic loop. Because that energetic loop is you actually leaking your energy. Most people, when they're cut off from your energy, they'll do anything to try and reconnect, re-engage. You'll feel this sense that they want something from you when you've created a clear boundary. And on the surface, it may look like they want access, I don't know, to call you, to text you. They want access to your home, to your business. They want some sort of connection in some way, shape, or form to you. And that's that energetic pattern that you've outgrown, that you've seen within yourself, that you're no longer leaking energy anymore. And instead, you have created a clear boundary. So this clear boundary protects you from what feels like something's draining you. And it's not really that these people are draining you, it's that you are giving your energy away to them. So the best practice is actually not to engage with them at all. And just cut them cleanly from your life. Let the silence be the boundary. That discomfort that they feel when your silence says more than any words could is enough. And that silence that they feel when you set the boundary is them feeling your edge. They'll have all sorts of names for it. That you're being harsh, that you're being rude, that you're being too much. All of these different names will simply try and label these boundaries. And those who have a problem with your boundaries are those who don't truly respect you. And it's not something to take personal. They don't respect you because they haven't integrated those boundaries themselves. And actually, the greatest blessing that you could do for them is actually hold those boundaries strongly. To not collapse under the pressure of them emailing you, phoning you, texting you, asking for some sort of response, reply. They're just trying to re-engage with you, reconnect. It's more about trying to recreate that loop again, the cycle. But because you've closed the loop, because you've ended the cycle, it's almost like a survival. That part of yourself you've outgrown. That part of yourself has matured. That part of yourself has died. And your growth, your maturity, your evolution is now the one that sets these clear boundaries. So you're not being cold, you're being clear. But because it's so foreign to you, because it's so unfamiliar, you might second guess yourself. Am I being a little too rude here? Do I owe them a response? Should I reply and explain? Maybe they just need to see it from my perspective. And all of this is nonsense. They don't. You don't owe them anything. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify. You don't need to rationalize. Just set the boundary and hold it. And that is what I'm talking about when I talk about containment. A lot of people can't hold the boundary, which is always about integrating that masculine energy of containing, the containment. The boundary that contains is the same boundary that protects. And both are expressions of the masculine energy. And like I said, is those who have issues with your boundaries are the very ones who haven't integrated that masculine energy. So that masculine energy will be very confronting when it's embodied by you. It will confront your wife, your husband, a client, the neighbor, whoever it is in your life that then has to confront your boundaries. It shakes things up in your life. And it's a caution to not be afraid of how things get shaken. Things rattle, they stir. And people will naturally fall away from you when you set these boundaries. Like I said, it's like cutting people from your life because you set these boundaries. But you've set these boundaries from that clarity. What no longer serves you, what you no longer wish to experience, to engage in. For example, if someone is such a drama queen or dramatic and they're sort of feeling like they're taking. Well, are they really taking or are you just overgiving? right? We're always experiencing almost the inverse of what we think. This person, they're an energy vampire. Are they an energy vampire? Or do you have problems setting boundaries? See, we never want to kind of point the finger and look within. What if it's not about them? What if it's actually a reflection of you? And you see that when you have that containment, you don't feel that energy leak anymore. You don't feel drained. They can't steal your time and energy if you don't give them time and energy, right? So it's sort of a way to bring awareness to this by looking at your life and seeing, where are you feeling drained? Where are you feeling drained? Where are you feeling exhausted? What people in your life feel like they kind of bring you down, that you sort of come back home and say, oh my God, I wish I didn't have to listen to 3 hours of that. Well, why did you have to listen to 3 hours of that? Why didn't you just set the boundary and walk away? Right? 2 ways to do it. You can ask someone to leave, or you can set that boundary and you leave. Most people are afraid because of that edginess, for lack of better words, of that boundary. They're afraid of other people calling them rude or harsh, or, oh, that's not polite, or that's not kind. But it's that sharpness that comes from the clarity. It's that edge that comes from someone meeting your boundary, that's when they feel it. Whoa, something's there. And when you hold that boundary firmly, strongly, you see that it doesn't budge. It's not this boundary that then becomes this line that you move. Okay, well today, yeah, you get access. Tomorrow, I'm saying that no, you're not. The next day, you get a little access. It's not like that. When you integrate that boundary, you set it. And often the best way is you let the silence speak. You don't try and set that boundary and then justify and rationalize and explain the boundary. Just let them feel your silence, because that silence will be exactly what they need. It'll be something that cannot be explained, cannot be justified, cannot be rationalized. And ultimately, it becomes a gift for their very transformation and reflects that aspect of them that they have not integrated. So you're doing them a favor, and you're also, we could say it like this, you're not only gifting them, you're gifting yourself, right? Because once you set that boundary, and you'll see that it's almost overnight, you feel when something shifts inside you, that you'll feel lighter. You'll feel like relieved. You'll feel like energized. You'll feel like you have sort of got part of yourself back that you have been giving away. So unintentionally, maybe is a good word. But now, because you see it, you intentionally set these boundaries. And over a few weeks, maybe a month or so, you start seeing that actually these boundaries start cleaning up your life, just like boundaries in the material world, whether it be your house, your garden, your neighborhood, whatever it is. They keep things clean. Without those boundaries, then everything is overspilling, right? So it's a sort of way to clean up your life so it's not so messy. The boundaries, because they're created from clarity, they keep things clear and clean. So you're no longer living in that mess. And that mess is really the unconsciousness. It's the blind spot. It's living in the shadow of the masculine. Whereas the true masculine is one that embodies those boundaries, sets those boundaries unapologetically. The shadow of the masculine is the one that feels guilt or blame or shame for setting those boundaries, an overgiver, an overpleaser. And it's that distortion that is really the darkness of the shadow that you're living in, which is messy. But when you're living as the light, the clarity is the light that then sets the boundaries without apology. It doesn't feel bad for setting those boundaries. It doesn't feel guilty or shame or blame or feel like they have to do something extra or somehow make it up to the other because of that boundary. No, it's just coming from love and honor and respect, protection, containment, structure, order, these things. That boundary represents more than what it appears to be on the surface, because it's coming from that depth that one is embodying. So it's an invitation for you to let that silence speak for you. Let that silence be the boundary. It's a reminder to embody those boundaries as the very containment and protection. It's a reminder to hold those boundaries strongly so that you don't collapse under the pressure of others wanting that attention, others wanting you to re-engage in their drama. It's also a reminder that this is really a reflection of you outgrowing those parts of yourself that no longer serve you. Whenever you integrate these aspects of yourself, such as the boundaries, the containment, the protection, the honor, the respect, the love, these are just some examples. There's always going to be parts of yourself that feel challenged by it. And that's sort of like the darkness that you're living in, the darkness that you are living as. It's sort of like it doesn't want to be illuminated. It wants to survive. And it sort of wants to always kind of regain control. It wants to sort of re-enter your life in some way, shape, or form. It wants to claw its way back. It wants to kind of crack open the door to see, is there any way that we can do things how we used to? It doesn't want to feel obsolete. It doesn't want to feel that you've outgrown it, that you've evolved. But you have. You have. You're seeing it clearly. In these relationships, these people, they're simply mirroring the parts of yourself that you've outgrown. And it's from that clarity that you're not cutting them off in a hostile way. It's just that term that I used. It's just that you're just simply moving on. You're evolving because you've integrated something. You've lived the life without the boundaries. You don't even know it's messy without that contrast of living from clarity. With living a life without the boundaries, as soon as you set your first boundary, let's say, it feels so unfamiliar. You might feel guilty for setting that boundary. You'll want to soften. You'll collapse. And this is just that process of integrating those parts of yourself that really have been denied and suppressed and rejected and avoided for such a long time. But now you're seeing clearly it's exactly what you need to transform your life. And it's great because it's always been in you. It's always been waiting to express. You've been doubting yourself. You haven't trusted yourself. And those parts of yourself, the people in your life that are really projections, reflections of those aspects of yourself that you've outgrown, it's like they'll do anything to survive, to be a part of your life. They won't go without a fight. And that's why, coming back full circle, let them meet your silence. They can fight with your words, your explanations, your justifications, your rationalizations. That's how you continue feeding the argument, the drama, the conversation. But when you're ready to truly set and embody those boundaries, you also embody the silence that is that ultimate boundary, and you let that silence be felt by those aspects of yourself that you've outgrown. So if you're ready to start integrating more of yourself, if you're ready to clean up your life, live from the clarity, stop living from the mess of the shadow in the darkness, then I invite you to join me on the transformational journey of truth.